Cameroon. Executive Summary. Cameroon is a republic dominated by a strong presidency. The president retains power over the legislative and judicial branches of government. The ruling political party, the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, has remained in power since its creation in 1985. The country held legislative elections in February 2020 that were marked by irregularities. The ruling party won 152 of 180 National Assembly seats. Paul Biya has served as president since 1982. He was last re-elected in 2018 in an election marked by irregularities. The National Police and the National Gendarmerie are responsible for internal security. The former reports to the General Delegation of National Security and the latter to the Secretariat of State for Defense in charge of the Gendarmerie. The army shares some domestic security responsibilities. It reports to the Minister Delegate and the Presidency in charge of defense. The Rapid Intervention Battalion reports directly to the President. Civilian and military authorities did not maintain effective control over the security forces. There were credible reports that members of the security forces committed numerous abuses. Casualties rose in the Anglophone crisis in the northwest and southwest regions. Anglophone separatists used improvised explosive devices with greater success. ISIS West Africa increased attacks in the far north region. The government continued to crack down on the opposition Cameroon Renaissance movement, and in December several of its members were sentenced to prison for terms ranging from 1 to 7 years following protests in 2020. Significant human rights issues included credible reports of unlawful or arbitrary killings, including extrajudicial killings by the government and non-state armed groups, forced disappearances by the government, torture and cases of cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment by the government and non-state armed groups, harsh and life-threatening prison conditions, arbitrary arrests or detention, political prisoners or detainees, serious problems with the independence of the judiciary, arbitrary or unlawful interference with privacy, punishment of family members for offenses allegedly committed by an individual, serious abuses in a conflict, including abductions and unlawful recruitment and use of child soldiers by non-state armed groups, serious restrictions on freedom of expression and media, including violence, threats of violence, or unjustified arrests or prosecutions against journalists, censorship, and criminal libel laws, substantial interference with the right of peaceful assembly and freedom of association, including overly restrictive laws on the organization, funding, or operation of non-governmental organizations and civil society organizations, serious restrictions on freedom of movement, inability of citizens to change their government peacefully through free and fair elections, serious and unreasonable restrictions on political participation, serious government corruption, lack of investigations and accountability for gender-based violence, trafficking in persons, crimes involving violence or threats of violence targeting lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or intersex persons, and the existence or use of laws criminalizing same-sex sexual conduct between adults. Although the government took some steps to identify, investigate, prosecute, and punish officials who committed human rights abuses or corruption, it did not do so systematically and rarely held public proceedings. Impunity remained a serious problem. Armed separatists, Boko Haram and ISIS West Africa, and criminal gangs also committed human rights abuses, some of which were investigated by the government.